Today we will be talking about Caldera. And on the agenda we will be talking about definition, the components from the perspective of a red team, the components from the perspective of the blue team. And at the end we will be taking the room from TryHackMe named Caldera. This room is part of threat emulation track, which is in turn part of SOC level 2 track. Now as for how we're gonna approach the room here, as you can see we have around 7 tasks. Task 7 is a challenge that wraps up everything you learn throughout the previous tasks. Okay, now for the practical part of this video and to demonstrate the use of Caldera in fully, we're going to solve task 7. By solving task 7 you will be able to go through all of the previous tasks. So I'm going to cover the solution for task 7, and I'm going to lay down the basics and foundations for you to be able to complete the previous tasks. If you get stuck, you can take a look at the answers, which I'm going to put in the write-up of this video. Okay, let's get started. So what is Caldera? Caldera is a threat emulation framework based on MITRE. Additionally, it can be used for incident response. So Caldera is cross-platform for both blue teams and red teams. If you have been watching my previous videos on threat emulation, you will understand what I am talking about. So it is a threat emulation framework, and we can use it also for incident response. Before we go over the interface and we solve the challenge, let's first discuss the components of Caldera. These components are very important to understand in order to smoothly solve the challenge, and if you want also to use the tool on your own. So the components on the red team. As you know guys, Caldera has 2 interfaces, one for red team and another one for blue team. Now every one of these interfaces have their own components. So let's talk about the components you see in the red team interface. First we have the agents. Now the agents are programs that continuously connect to Caldera server to pull and execute instructions. Caldera is installed on a machine, okay, that's different from the machines of the targets. So Caldera acts as maybe a server. You can name it as a server. From the server, the agents are pulling instructions. Now the instructions are either red team or blue team instructions. When it comes to red team instructions, we basically execute adversary tactics based on MITRE, TTPs. That's what the agents do. Now when the agents are blue agents, they execute defender instructions. Mainly they act as incident responders, so execute instructions based on defending and responding to incidents. So that's the job of agents. You can configure agents from the interface. Next we have the abilities. So what are the abilities? In a simple word, the abilities are the TTPs. Remember in MITRE there are the tactics, techniques and procedures. So in the abilities we get the chance to execute these TTPs using the agents. Okay, now the adversaries. What are the adversaries? Basically, as the name suggests or as the name depicts, the adversaries are the actual advanced persistent groups that you are going to emulate. So it's defined as groups of abilities that are attributed to a known threat group. And lastly, we have the plugins. In the plugins, we extend the functionality of Caldera by providing different sorts of community written plugins in order to expand the functionality of Caldera. Okay, now let's go over the components in the interface. So as you can see here guys, these are the main components: the agents, abilities, adversaries and operations. As always, we start by going to agents and deploy an agent. So we're gonna deploy an agent, and here we're gonna select for the task 7 here. Let's see in task 7. Are there specific instructions on the name of the agents? There are no instructions or specific instructions. So we're going to select reverse shell agent, and based on the scenario, our target is Windows. We can select Windows, and here there are a couple of things to modify. We're going to open a terminal, and from here we're going to open a new tab and get the IP information of the machine. This is the machine from which we are running the main instance of Caldera. I'm going to copy the IP address. Okay, so here, as you can see, we're going to need to change the zeros and put the actual IP address of the Caldera server. This is very necessary for the agent to properly communicate with your Caldera server and pull the instructions. Now, as for the name, it's up to you. We're gonna name it as Chrome based on the scenario. And next, we're gonna copy these commands, okay? You can choose UDP or TCP. We're gonna copy the commands and then go to the machine. Okay, now here we want to connect to the victim machine. So we're gonna open a new tab and use Remina. If you get this pop-up, click on cancel. Click on add a new connection, and here we're gonna get the IP address of the machine running. No machine is running. Okay, we're gonna wait for the machine to run, and let's go back now to the board here. Okay, let's discuss now the components from the perspective of the blue team. First, we have the response plugins. The response plugins are similar to the abilities here in the red team components. The response plugins are responsible for implementing the detection and response to the TTPs. So the scenario goes like this. You'll go ahead and use Caldera, and you have a scenario where you are maybe required, as in the scenario here, we're going to be required to emulate the APT41. So using the red team components, we're going to emulate APT41 by executing the abilities or the TTPs of APT41. Next, we're going to log into Caldera as a blue teamer and run a response plugins to detect the execution of TTPs attributed to APT41. So that's the job of response plugins. Its job is to detect and respond to the TTP executions or the threats. Next, we have the defender profiles. The defender profiles are similar to adversary profiles. It contains the groups of the abilities or the response plugins. Agents, similar to agents in the red team components. So, for example, when you want to implement the actions of the incident response, you're going to use the agents, deploy a blue agent. So here you have a blue agent, which is different than the red agents. If you want to implement both of them, you're gonna have to do that separately. And lastly, the operations, it's similar to operations in the red team. It's basically the actual start button of running the abilities on the agent groups or in the machines. Let's go back. Okay, now we have the IP address. Let's now log into the server. The username is administrator. The password is emulation 101. And we're going to connect. And accept the cert. Open PowerShell. Paste the commands. Okay. Now, to make sure that the agent was deployed successfully, we're going to go back to Caldera instance, close this, go to agents. As you can see, now we have a new agent. This is the red agent. As you can see under the group, we see the classification as red and is implemented on a Windows platform. These are the PID of the process. Okay. And this is the protocol. Now, the next step is after we deploy the agent, we want to define the adversary group we want to emulate. Now, in the case of the last challenge, it is APT41. You're tasked to emulate the known TTPs of APT41 in your organization's infrastructure, so on and so forth. Okay, let's search for APT41. Okay, if you don't have it, just create a new profile, name it as APT41, and in the description say APT41 THM. Create. Okay, now let's go to the abilities. Remember that the adversary profiles contain the group of abilities or the actual implementation of the TTPs. So since we have created a blank profile, the profile doesn't exist in the list of the pre-built abilities or the adversaries, right? When that happens, you're gonna have to create one yourself, as we did a while ago. Next step is to add abilities or TTPs. Let's look at the techniques or tactics and techniques used by this APT41. So it's given to you. You don't need to go to the MITRE website and search for the tactics. It's already given in the task. All you have to do is to create them. You're gonna have to go to the abilities or to add ability under adversary profiles. Click on add ability. And as you can see here, the technique name is spear phishing attachment. That's the MITRE ID. Okay. And the ability name given in Caldera is download micro enabled phishing attachment. Gonna search for an ability here, and you can see we have one. Tactic is initial access. Make sure all the fields have the correct values. Technique, the ability. Scrolling down. Okay, we have this. This is a very important step, repeatable. If you choose this, it's gonna run every time. And scrolling down, we can see the executors. Here we have the actual command being run. It's very important to take a look at the command before you run the ability. This is the command run. In some instances, you may need to modify on the parameters. For example, if the machine here, or if the victim machine doesn't have internet access, you're gonna have to host a server and modify the URL. And we're gonna save and add another one. So we have new ability here. We're gonna add an ability and choose the next one. Create a process for using obfuscated Win32. Let's search for this ability here. Okay, so after the abilities have been created, there is one thing left to do. Going to click on download micro enabled phishing attachment. And here you scroll down to the command. And as you can see, guys, it uses or it pulls the script or the payload from GitHub. In our scenario, the machine or the victim machine that we are applying or implementing threat emulation against does not have internet access. That's why we're going to have to host this in the attacker machine. Now, luckily, this has been done for you in the room. So if you go to back to the terminal, and under this directory, we're gonna see the one step back, go to HTTP server, and here we have, as you can see, the payload. All we have to do is to fire a Python server. It's Python 3-m. Okay, and given that we know we have the IP address of the machine or the attacker machine, I'm gonna copy the IP address, go back here, and change the URL so that it points to the right destination. I think it is 8,000. And here we're going to have to remove the S. Okay. Let's make sure the port is correct. Go back here. On the server, yeah, it's 8,000. checking back here, the command now looks correct. Okay, we're going to save. Okay, so now we're going to create an operation. Click on create an operation, red button, and from here we're going to give it apt41 as a name. In the adversary section, we're going to select the adversary profile we have just created, which happens to be apt41. Fact source, leave it as basic, especially when you conduct red team engagements or when you use the red team part of Caldera. Make sure to leave this as basic. Click on advanced. In the groups, we're going to select red because we are applying the operation on the agents deployed via the red team part of Caldera, right? Remember this. The obfuscators, depending on the scenario, this controls how the payloads and the commands will be executed on the target machine. Using obfuscators, if you choose one of the encoding or obfuscation methods here, it's going to obfuscate the commands, and you will see that very obviously in the logs. Or you can choose to run the commands without obfuscation. I'm going to select this method for this scenario, so select plain text. For the rest of the options, the important one is run state. If you select run immediately, it's going to run all of the TTPs or the abilities at once. Now, if you choose this option, what's going to happen here? In the audit logs of the target machine, this is the target machine here, you're going to see a lot of events generated by the effect of executing all the TTPs at once. But if you want to perform careful analysis of every single TTP and what kind of events are generated as a result, you may choose to run or select the option pause on start. Pause on start will configure the operation but not run it. That's what we want to do. We're gonna click on start. As you can see, the current state of the operation is paused. It's not running. If I click on run, it's going to run all the abilities shown here all at once. In the adversary section, it's going to run all of these all at once. Now, if I'll go back to operations and select run first link, it's going first to go over the TTPs, and considering the order, as you can see, the numbered order, it's going to first run the first TTP, right, which is download micro-enabled phishing attachment. Okay. The thing is, now when I personally went to operations and selected run first link, nothing happened. I mean, it was supposed to download the attachment from the attacking machine, but nothing happened. That's why if this is happening with you, go ahead and select manual command. So we're going to go back to adversaries and we're going to run the TTP manually. So we click on the TTP and we're going to scroll down to take a look at the command. That's the command. As you can see, it is downloading the attachment from the attacker's machine. So I'm going to copy this and force Caldera to run it. I'm going to go to operations, and from here, going to click on manual command. This opens up these fields. We're going to leave everything as is. Since this is a partial command, we're going to leave this option as partial. If the executor, or if it is a command line command, we're going to select a CMD. But for the sake of this, for the purpose of this scenario, we're running it through partial. And here we're going to paste this command. We're going to add the command. Okay. Now the command has been added. It's not going to run. Okay. Go back to adversaries, and I'm going to delete this one. Remember, I'm doing this because it didn't work specifically with me, the first TTP. I'm going to go ahead and click on X. Okay, now it has been deleted. Go back to operations and run first link. Now, by running the first link, it's supposed to run the manual command I have created. As you can see, this is the manual command, and we can see here the view command. You can take a look at the command that we have just run. And by selecting view output, we're going to see the response generated by the victim PC, or the PC on which we have just executed the command, so it is nothing to show. Sometimes it takes a little bit to show the output. Never mind, we're gonna click on close. And how to know that the command has been run successfully? We're gonna minimize this, go back to the attacker's machine. As you can see, this is the Python server, and successfully the attachment has been retrieved by this IP address. This IP address happens to be the IP address of the victim machine. I'm gonna check out the victim machine by going to Ramina, and from here I'm gonna clear all of this. Okay, first we're gonna answer the first question. The first question is already answered. Aside from the PS1 file, what is the name of the file created by the execution of download macro-enabled phishing attachment? You're gonna check out the file that has been downloaded and created as a result of executing this TTP or this ability. To find the answer, we're gonna have to go back here and checking the command that we have run, view command. We can see here that the output was controlled using the -out file, okay, in the command. And the file, which happens to be phishing attachment, was stored under the environment variable temp. To print out the value of this environment variable, we're gonna copy this. I'm gonna go back to the victim machine. I'm gonna echo this. As you can see, this shows me that, let me make this bigger. Okay, this shows us that the attachment was saved under this directory. Given that we are administrator, the correct directory would be, we're gonna say cd or ls c users administrator. Then we're gonna copy the rest of directory. Make sure to delete the extra backslash. As you can see, guys, indeed the attachment was successfully downloaded. So the full path to the attachment, copy this directory and add the name of the attachment. Okay, what is the match string value of the sigma rule, okay, that flagged the execution of create a process using obfuscated Win32 process? Let's analyze the question. What is the match string value of the sigma rule? So basically, remember guys, when we are running these commands, or when we are running the TTPs shown here, we are generating event logs on the target machine, right, or on the Windows machine. And the thing is here, we're required to find the match string value of the sigma rule. Usually, sigma rules are used to detect suspicious events using an EDR software such as Aura EDR. So we're gonna check out the logs on the Windows machine. So here we open up the event viewer. Make sure you are on the applications. Click on filter event log and make sure that under event sources you select Aura agent, Aura agent. So you can select them from here and click on OK. Look at these. These are the events that were generated as a result of executing the manual command, or as a result literally of downloading the attachment. So basically, if you click on details, you can see that parent, this is the sigma rule match. Why sigma rules? We may be asking why sigma rules are being used to match indicators of compromise and to detect suspicious events. Because we are using Aura EDR. Aura uses sigma rules to correlate events and detect suspicious behavior. That's why. So these events represent the execution or the results of executing the first TTP. The first TTP, we said earlier, it happens to be downloading the attachment using the manual command. Now we're gonna run first link. Click on this one more time. When you click on this one more time, run first link, it's going to go over the next TTP in order. Since we have deleted the first one because it's not working in my scenario, it's going to now execute this TTP, create a process using obfuscated Win32 process. Remember, upon executing every single TTP here, new events will be generated. To avoid overwhelming yourselves while analyzing the events, we're going to delete these every time we execute a TTP. Okay, so these TTPs or these events are related to the first TTP, downloading an attachment. So we're gonna clear the log, clear filter. No, oh my god, no. Look, we made a mistake here. Gonna go back. We cleared the folder instead of clearing the logs. So we're gonna select back Aura ADR, Aura agent. Select both of them, click back OK, and then we're going to select clear the log. Clear. Okay, now back on a clean slate. So we're gonna check out the TTPs and run the next one in order. Go back to operations. From here we're gonna select run first link. This is supposed to run the next TTP in order. Okay, so this is the next command we have run. Let's view the command. Okay, and let's view the output. This is the output. Fine. Go back to the question. What is the match string value of the sigma rule? Okay, now we understand where this comes from. It comes from the Aura ADR installed on the victim machine to monitor the execution of the TTPs, generating the events that match the sigma rules. That flagged the execution of create a process. So a process was created as a result of executing the next TTP in order, which is Win32 process. Let's go back. That's what we have just done here. This is the command we executed. We're gonna find out the match string here. Again, we can also click on view output to see the response by the victim machine. To find the answer, we're gonna go back to the victim machine and put on the shoes of the blue teamer, refreshing the logs, and we can see new items here. Let's take a look at the first one. So the sigma rule that was triggered here is this rule detects suspicious processes with parent images located under C user's public folder. So here a process was created, and if you scroll down you can see the command line used to execute the process. So it was executed through partial, and it is through Windows management instrumentation, and the argument list highlights the notepad. Scrolling down, look at the match string. So this is the match string, but is this the match string we want? Not necessarily, because here we're looking for an obfuscated Win32 process, a process creation event. Let's click on the folder current log, and here in event IDs we're gonna use 1 because it's the event ID that indicates a process was created. Click on 1. As you can see, the number has been decreased. Click again back on warning, this one, and the next one. Look at this. The sigma rule here that was matched is WMI spawning a process. Now if you scroll down here, you can see that the process highlights notepad, and it is the match string here is WMI privilege, looks like privilege SE in parent image. So that is the answer for this question. What is the name of the service created by execute a command as a service? So we're going to check the next TTP. Going back to Caldera from here and back to the adversaries. The next TTP in line is execute command as a service. Remember, we are doing this manually because it's not working in my case. Gonna copy this, go back to operations, click on manual command, and paste in the command. Add command. To run the command, you're going to click on run first link. So as you can see here, the command has failed 2 times. If you take a look at the command again by clicking on view command, you can see that it's trying to create a service named ART service, and the binary path, or the binary, uses partial, as you can see here, to execute commands. So if you get failed here, you can answer the question without looking at the event logs. Basically, it is asking the name of the service. The name of the service is clearly seen in the command. So ART service. Okay, next one. Aside from the PS1 file, okay, before answering the question, let's first take a look at the event logs. We want to see if events were generated as a result of executing the failed command here. So I'm going to go back to Ramina and refresh. Look at this. So you can see here indications of the last command or last TTP. So this one here, it's informational, change partial policies to an insecure level. So here the command was trying to change the execution policy of partial to be able to execute the command, but it failed as seen in the status of Caldera. So, okay, right. So now clear the log. Okay, and on to the next TTP. Okay, the next TTP happens to be going back to adversaries. And we have partial cmdelete scheduled task. Taking a look at the command, I'm gonna copy this and back to operations. From here, we're going to click on manual command, paste the command, click on add command in the red button, and don't forget to run first link. Let's see here. A 5th command will be added to the line of the commands here. We're going to see if the result will be successful. So here we get added command manually, and then we can see the command being executed, collecting information. I'm going to wait for the results. So it has been executed successfully. Okay, what's the question here? Aside from the PS1 file, what is the name of the file created by the execution of partial cmdelete scheduled task? So this is a cmdelete. Let's go back and analyze the command here. View command. You can see here that it is executing, creating a new scheduled task that executes calculator. The trigger is at log on. So the task will trigger the execution of calculator every time the user logs in. The username is administrator, will run as administrator with the highest privilege. Okay, the question, what's the file created here as a result of this? Now the file here is not clear. I'm gonna click on view output, and we see this is a task name, so the file name is not clear from the TTP. That's why we're gonna have to go back to the victim machine and refresh the event logs. If you don't find the file name here, check out the first event where it is triggered because of the change in partial execution policy. We can here see the command that were being executed. Scrolling down, we can see in the command line, partial was used to bypass execution policy and to create a scheduled task, as you can see here with the calculator as the executable file. And we saw this earlier. Okay, let's see here. So look at this, dash scheduled task, atomic task. Atomic task looks like the file name that was created. I'm going to verify this by looking at other values. This is the match string. the change of the execution policy. And we see the process tree. Okay. So here the input object and the register scheduled task signifies atomic task as the name of the object. So this is the answer for the question. Let's try. Oh, gonna have to put in the full path. Now the full path of the file will be the path where the scheduled task is stored. Usually scheduled tasks are stored under maybe C Windows, maybe something like scheduled task or something like that. Task path of scheduled tasks. So it's under C Windows System32 tasks. Gonna copy this and write atomic task. So that was the correct answer. Okay, now before we answer the next question, I'm gonna clear the log. Okay. Aside from the partial detections, what is the name of the Sigma rule that flagged the execution of create a new user in command prompt? It's gonna go back to Caldera, highlight the next TTP, and we have here create a new user in command prompt. So as you can see, the executor here is CMD through the command line. So we're gonna, when selecting the manual command in operations, make sure to highlight the executor and change it from partial to CMD. So here this is the command, and from here we select CMD as the main executor. Add. Okay, run. Now when we check the event logs, we can see the first one here indicates that a user account was created. The question here is asking what is the Sigma rule. Okay, the Sigma rule here, let's see here. If you check out the Sigma rule, title, user account creation, the next one is the same, and the last one is the event logs cleared. So probably now you get your answer. This is the answer. This is the command. What is the name of the Sigma rule? Let's clear the logs. Clear the logs. What's the name of the Sigma rule that flagged the execution of clear logs? It's gonna go back to TTPs here and check out the next TTP. The next TTP is clearing the logs. If we double click here, and we're gonna need to copy both commands. Take a note of the executor, PowerShell, gonna add a command. Next, we're going to run. So the command has been executed successfully. Take a look at the output. There is no output to show here, so I'm gonna check out the event logs. Click on refresh, and we have a lot of events generated. Our task here is to find the Sigma rule title that indicates a log has been created or the events log has been deleted. Okay, this one, security event log cleared. The rule title, security event log cleared. Check out the next one. Next one is the same. take a look at this one. Suspicious event log clear or configuration via WEV utility. That's what we want, because that's how we clear the logs, or that's how the TTP cleared the logs. So that's the title of the rule. Oops. Suspicious event log clear or configuration change using, nope, other one. In case you get the wrong answer on this one, try using or configuration change. It will work. If you ask me why, I don't know. Because that's the events that show up here. Okay, the next question. What command is used by file and directory discovery? What command is used by file and directory discovery during its execution? Probably to find the answer for this one, let's first clear the log. To find the answer for this one, it's probably enough to take a look at the command of the next TTP in line. Go back to adversaries, and we have file and directory discovery through PowerShell. I'm going to double click on this, and this is the command. So I'm going to just copy this and answer with it. How many times did the find files ability execute? Okay, can I close this one? And we have the find files ability here. Click on this one, and we're gonna check out the command here. Gonna copy the command, highlight the executor as SH. So it's not CMD or PowerShell. Okay. Go back to operations. And here we're gonna click on add manual command. Select CMD. Add and run. Probably this command will fail because here it is configured to be executed through bash shell. On the other hand, when we tried to manually execute this, we were given only two options, either through PowerShell or the command prompt. So in order to execute this, we're gonna have to do that automatically. Back to adversaries. I'm going to delete every single one of these and leave find files only. Remember, I'm doing this only in my case because it didn't work as it's supposed to work in the intended walkthrough. So basically I left only find files. Now I'm going to go back to operations. I'm going to delete or stop this, delete everything, create a new one, apt41, select the adversary from the list, click on red, atomic, plain text, run immediately. It's not gonna matter this time because you only have one TTP or one ability. Before we click start, let's make sure that the logs are cleared from the target machine. So back to event viewer, refresh, we have some logs, I'm gonna clear these. So we're gonna go back, hopefully it will work, start. Let's make sure that the agents are alive. So I have one agent which is alive. Back to operations. We're still waiting for the ability to execute, but we are seeing lag in execution here. Even if you click on run first link, we still don't see anything show up here. I still don't know why this is happening in my case. If it happened to you and you managed to find a solution, kindly put that in the comment. And in the manual command, we only have 2 executors. Yep. So I'm guessing we're not going to be able to show how to answer this question. Yes, it's not running. Alright, so if this is not working, the answer for this question is 3. Now, unfortunately, I cannot show why 3 because, as you can see, it's not working and I couldn't do it through the manual command. So yeah, that was for the task 7. Before I wrap up the challenge here, guys, let me first walk you through the part of Caldera where you can execute blue team operations. So here we're going to log out. And here, log in with blue. The password is admin. And this is the blue team part of Caldera. Here, we get to do the same as we outlined previously. In the components of the blue team, we have the same. We have agents, we have operations, defenders, defender profiles, and response plugins. Let's go back here. As you can see in the agents, here we configure a new agent. Same way we did when we conducted the threat emulation in the red team part. Click on deploy agent and you're going to go through the same steps. Typically, Sandcat is one of the most popular blue agents. Select Sandcat, and here from here we select operating system. We configure the parameters. This is the IP address of the machine, Caldera. It is this IP address, and we copy the command and back to the victim machine. We execute it. Next, we go to defenders. We create a profile for the defender. Let's say it is THM1. And once we create a defender, we add abilities. Here the abilities are the tactics and techniques that are used to detect and respond to incidents. Remember, the tactics and techniques here are taken from the response plugins. If you want to take a look at the response plugins, you can go to abilities and click on response. We see response plugin, or just type response. You see, these are all of the abilities that can be used to respond to incidents. Okay, you can select them here and add them to defender profiles. You can also search for detection. Detect. In the detection, we can see the abilities or the tactics or techniques that can be used to detect incidents, extracting indicators of compromise. So, while conducting blue team experiments, you are either between detect or response. You can use these techniques and add them to defender profiles. And in the operations, you create an operation and select the defender profile that you have created. And from the groups, make sure to select blue. You're going to see blue here once you deploy an agent. So that is for also the blue part of Caldera. If you go through the steps outlined in this video, you're going to be able to go through the other tasks. They are very easy to follow through. And if you are stuck, make sure to check out the answers in the write-up of this video. Thank you for watching.